Hello everyone, Chris Peterson here, bringing you another chess commentary slash analysis slash whatever the heck you want to call it. I'm bringing you the games from the 2012 May Denver Chess Club Tuesday night tournaments. It's a long name for a tournament, but basically what it is every month the Denver Chess Club hosts a rated tournament where you play one game 75 chess game every Tuesday of that month. So May had 5 Tuesdays, so this is going to be a 5-round tournament. Basically, there's $30 go in, and then you get cash prizes and stuff at the end of the month if you do well. The first round, I get paired against Randy Schine. Now, I've played Randy on a few occasions before. If I'm not mistaken, my record against him is +2 equals 0 and -1. So I did actually lose a game to him a while ago where I got a little overzealous with my attack on the king side and ended up losing a rook or something. But this particular game, being my first rated game in over 3 years, I was a little bit nervous. Being out of practice makes coming back a little bit difficult, and also, I've been working pretty closely with Randy on revitalizing the Denver Chess Club, as he is the elected treasurer of the club, and he has helped me finance many of the tournaments that we have been putting on. Now, Randy's style when it comes to chess is quite a bit different than mine. He plays much more conservative than I do. He will, when given the opportunity, sacrifice to create complications if he thinks he is in trouble, and very rarely do simple tactics escape his watchful eye. So I went ahead and played e4, and I've been experimenting with this in tournament play or at least I wanted to experiment with this in tournament play. I've played it quite a bit in Blitz, so my confidence is kind of building up a little bit, but for the most part I'm kind of a d4 player, but e4 is good. So Randy plays g6, and then I played d4, bishop to g7, f4, d6, knight to f3, knight f6, knight c3, castles kingside, bishop d3, and knight b to d7. Now, this move just basically it abandons the center. It is really up to black in this opening to hold white's massive center back, and knight b to d7 just allows me to take more space. So I played e5, and the knight on f6 is really kind of running out of maneuverability. D takes e5, d takes e5, knight to g4. So now I played e6, and this move kind of jumps the gun. It would be better to maintain the dark squared control over the center, limiting the scope of the fianchettoed bishop. One possible variation is h3, knight h6, bishop e3, c6. If he tries knight to f5, then bishop takes f5, g takes f5, and my position is slightly better due to his double pawns. But I should have a clear advantage there. So instead, c6, queen to d2, queen a5, g4. And the knight on h6 is now locked out of the game for at least 3 moves. And white has a clear advantage and the makings of a strong attack on the king side. But instead I played e6, and Randy played knight to b6. And then I played knight to g5. I wanted to pressure the light squares around black's king. Although the plan is not the best, it certainly puts a lot of strain on my opponent. So he played knight to h6, and I played queen e2, trying to maintain my clamp on the central light squares. Then Randy played bishop takes c3 check, a great move which makes way for the queen to perch herself on d6. So I played b takes c6, queen to d6, and then f5, which happens to be a very ambitious attacking plan. So knight takes f5. Here's a better line for black. I mean, white gets a decent attack for the double pawns and misplaced king. G takes f5, queen h5, queen e5 check, king f1, queen g7, knight takes h7, queen takes h7, bishop takes h6, bishop takes e6, queen g5 check, queen g6, queen takes g6 check, f takes g6, bishop takes f8, king takes f8. And though this line is hardly forced, it shows a little bit of the potential of white's attack. It's a long climb to a win in this ending, but the chances are white's. So going back, he played knight takes f5, and this is somewhat of a mistake, because after bishop takes f5, like his pawns are going to be doubled, and I'm going to have a pretty strong attack. But now, instead of taking back on f5, he plays f takes e6. And it is way too early for black to be panicking with a defensive sacrifice. Randy must have figured my weak pawns would be worth the 2-point deficit. The 2-point material deficit, that is. So bishop takes e6 check, bishop takes e6, queen takes e6 check, queen takes e6 check, knight takes e6, rook f6, knight takes c7, rook c8, knight b5, a6, and knight a3. I hallucinated here, thinking I could win an exchange if he takes the c3 pawn. It is quite obvious there is a rook e6 check or a rook e3 check. Knight d4 would have given my knight a better outpost without giving up more than I would have anyway. So he played rook takes c3, bishop to b2, and then rook e6 check. So rook e3 check, a subtle tactic makes this a stronger choice, because if king d2 or king d1, rook d6 check, king c1, rook e2 with a very cramped defensive position. So king d2, rook takes a3, bishop takes a3, knight c4 check, king c3, knight takes a3. Though white is still technically winning, it is a little bit harder for me to convert this. So king f2, after rook e6 check I played king f2, rook c5, rook h to e1, rook f5 check, king g1, king g3 was another option. I spent a lot of time contemplating this move, though it seemed safe enough, it was a little murky. King g1 is a better alternative. So if I would have played king g3, rook g5 check, king h4, rook h5 check, king g4, king f7. And it was a little bit too complicated to try to calculate that out over the board, so I just went for the safe, conservative king g1. So he played king f7, and I played rook takes e6, king takes e6, and then rook d1. My idea behind this move is that it prevents the black king from getting out from behind the pawn, unless black wants white to trade the other pair of rooks with rook f1. So he played knight d5, I played knight c4, knight b3, rook e1 check, king d7. And I missed a neat tactical idea here. Bishop a3, knight e5 check, king d8, anywhere, and I can just play a3. And if he plays knight takes c2, I can play rook e2, and the knight on c2 is now trapped. So instead I played bishop a3, and then he played knight takes c2, and I played rook takes e7 check, king c6, and now knight e3. And although this move allows black to win a rook for 2 pieces, the ending is hopeless. After a simple rook takes h7, takes h7 and f7, my h2 pawn is just going to be running up the board. so faster than Usain Bolt, so there isn't any hope for black. So he played knight takes e3. Just as an example, knight takes a3, knight takes f5, g takes f5, rook takes h7, b6, or knight c2, h4, knight b4, h5, knight takes a2, h6, knight b4, rook f7, knight d5, h7. So going back to b6, I would just play h4, knight c4, h5, knight e5, rook g7, knight g4, and rook takes g4. And, I mean, it's pretty obvious that white's winning that. So, going back to knight takes e3, I played rook takes e3, rook to d5, king f2, rook d2 check, rook e2, and rook takes e2 check. So keeping the rooks on may improve black's drawing chances, but it is a fairly simple technical win. I mean, being up a piece is pretty strong after all. So king takes e2, king b5, king d3, king a4, bishop e7, b5, king to c3, h6, g3. Now the whole goal is to put black into Zugzwang. Maybe a little more elegant would have been h3. h5, h4, king a5, bishop c5, king a4, a3, king a5. a5, if he would have tried a5, I would play bishop d6, b4 check, a takes b4, a takes b4 check, bishop takes b4, king b5, king d4 with another easy win. So after king a5, I played king b3, and this move is actually a forced checkmate in 6, which is kind of neat. So he played b4, and then I played a4. And here, Randy resigned. The stalemate here forces a checkmate. Black is required to give white a pass pawn, and white has just enough tempos to queen and deliver the final check. Just as an example, a4, g5, h takes g5, h4, g6, h3, g7, h2, g8 queen, h1 queen, and queen d8 is checkmate. So that's it for that game. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of it. If you have any questions about variations or what have you, go ahead and ask them in the comments and I'll be sure to reply. I'm usually faster at replying than I am at posting new videos, so... actually, I think it's kind of bizarre, like... I work on these videos, I put in like a whole day to make a whole series, and then I release them over a couple days. But then, like, I get so engrossed in, like, work and doing other things and, like, actually going to tournaments and, like, other things. It's just... Then I look at my YouTube account and I'm like, oh my god, it's been, like, 2 months since I posted a video, so... sorry about that. Hopefully things can start getting more regular as I start doing it. But, I mean, it's this whole process, so I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, so I'll catch you guys next time.